All right, so let's talk about something wild. We're talking about a seed, but not just any seed. This one is so legendary, so bizarre, and so valuable that it's been fascinating people for literally centuries. This is the story of the Coco de Mer.
And yeah, just one look, and you can probably guess why. I mean, its resemblance to a female pelvis is uncanny. So naturally, it became this huge symbol of fertility and passion. For sailors who'd find it, it was this mythical treasure. They even called it the love nut and were convinced it was a powerful aphrodisiac.
But here's the crazy part. For centuries, nobody knew where it came from. I mean, these massive nuts would just wash up on beaches all over the Indian Ocean, from the Maldives to India, thousands of miles apart. But where they grew? A total mystery. And that enigma drove people, from sailors to kings, absolutely wild.
So, let's get into it. How does a weird nut become one of the most sought-after things on the planet? Well, its value is built on one thing: pure, unadulterated mystique. The stories people told were just incredible. There were these Malay legends that said it grew on a magical tree at the very bottom of the ocean, right in the middle of a giant whirlpool called the Navel of the Seas. People really thought it was a treasure from another world.
And a myth like that makes something basically priceless. Get this. Back in the 17th century, the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II paid 4,000 gold florins for one of these nuts. That was an absolute fortune back then. To put that in perspective, in today's money, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single seed. And even now, a legit certified nut can go for over $1,000. So its value, all tied up in rarity and prestige, has really stuck around. And then, finally, in 1768, the mystery was cracked. A group of French sailors stumbled upon its home. It wasn't at the bottom of the sea. It was in this ancient palm forest on just two tiny remote islands in the Seychelles. Suddenly, the legend of the sea coconut crashed right back down to earth. And wow, what a reality it turned out to be. The fruit itself is just monstrous. It can weigh up to 99 pounds. And inside that fruit is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the entire plant kingdom, the largest and heaviest seed on our planet. Period. Okay, so to really get this plant, you have to understand a little bit of biology. It's what's called a K-selected species. Now, what that means is instead of making thousands of tiny little seeds, it pours all of its energy into just a few absolutely massive offspring. And the Coco de Mer, well, it takes that strategy to the most insane extreme imaginable. And I am not kidding when I say extreme. Just look at this timeline. It takes up to 2 years just for the seed to sprout. Then, the tree won't even be old enough to make its own fruit for another 25 to 50 years. And after all that, each fruit takes another 6 to 10 years to ripen. It's like its whole life is lived in super slow motion. But here's the thing, all that slowness, it's actually part of a brilliant survival strategy. This palm isn't just some old relic from a bygone era. It's an evolutionary genius. It literally engineers its own environment to survive. Okay, first, let's just blow up the biggest myth right now. The name coconut of the sea? Totally wrong. Unlike a normal coconut that floats all over the place, a healthy, viable Coco de Mer nut sinks like a rock, straight to the bottom. The only ones that float are the rotten, hollow ones, and that's exactly why it was never able to spread beyond those two little islands. So, stuck on these islands, it had to get clever, and it developed a system that's basically parental care for a plant. Check this out. Its huge funnel-shaped leaves act like a giant collector for rainwater and any nutrients that fall on them. Then it channels all of that good stuff right down its trunk, feeding its own roots and any baby seedlings growing at its base. At the same time, it starves out any other plants trying to compete. It's genius. And this really just shows how special this thing is. It's a world record holder in so many ways. Not just the world's largest seed, but also the largest female flowers of any palm. It has leaves that can live for over 20 years, and it is the single most efficient plant we know of at sucking the nutrients back out of its own dying leaves. It is a genuine biological marvel. But here's the tragic irony. The very things that made this palm a legend, its rarity, its incredible story, its value, are now the biggest threats to its survival. This ancient wonder is now facing a very, very modern crisis. That super slow life cycle we talked about, well, that's its Achilles heel. Think about it. When a poacher comes in and steals just one nut, they're not just taking a seed, they're stealing an entire decade of that tree's life energy. A whole decade of growth. Gone. The palm just can't reproduce fast enough to keep up with that kind of pressure. And the numbers? Well, they speak for themselves. The population out in the wild is down to around 8,200 mature trees. That's a drop of about 30% in just the last 3 generations of the palm. The trend is not good. It's heading in exactly the wrong direction. Illegal poaching is definitely the biggest problem, but it's not the only one. It's like a perfect storm of threats. The ancient forest where they live has no natural defense against fire, so one bad blaze could be catastrophic. You've also got invasive species moving in, competing for water and nutrients. And on top of all that, climate change is just adding more stress, increasing the risk of those fires. Okay, so that's the bad news. But it's not all doom and gloom. There is hope. There's a really smart, science-based conservation plan in motion right now, designed specifically to protect this ancient species from all these modern threats. And it's a multi-pronged attack. For every threat, there's a specific strategy. They've got more patrols on the ground and tougher penalties to fight poaching. They have detailed plans to reduce fire risk. And scientists are out there actively managing the invasive species to give the palms a fighting chance.
And you know what? The really good news is, it seems to be working. Official reports are showing that since about 2014, all these focused efforts to stop the poaching have actually started to have a real positive effect.
This right here, this is the heart of it all, the Vallée de Mai. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's basically the sanctuary for the coco de mer. It's a protected place where these ancient giants can just be, towering over the forest, some of them for hundreds and hundreds of years. And here's what might be the most important part. They're getting the local community involved. There's this stewardship program that actually gives seeds to local people in the Seychelles, and it's been a huge success. It's gotten more palms planted, and maybe more importantly, it's created this feeling of shared ownership, of everyone being responsible for this incredible tree's future. And that really brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? A single one of these trees can live for 800 years. I mean, think about that. A tree that sprouted back in the 1200s could still be producing fruit today. The real challenge for us is, can our conservation efforts, can our commitment to protecting it last that long? Can we match the incredible endurance of the very thing we're trying to save?